Hello and welcome to Mysterious Alien Objects, Part 1. I started my venture into YouTube with videos about objects that didn't seem to belong here on Earth. While this video isn't about out-of-place artifacts, it is interesting to sort of do a full circle. Within the topic of mysterious objects, a few pop out that have held the imaginations of many people around the world at one time or another. In this week's and next week's video, I want to inform you on the story behind two mysterious objects, what some think they could be, and if there is a possible natural explanation for them. Betz sphere. This object was suggested by one of my viewers named Joshua Finley, and it is what really brought this video together. In 1974, a marine engineer by the name of Antoine and his wife Jerry Betz were walking along their property on Fort George Island in Florida to survey damage from a recent forest fire. The fire had, in total, destroyed over 880 acres of forest by the time it was done. While they were looking over their property, they found a strange metallic orb nestled amongst the debris. The orb was highly polished, was about the size of a bowling ball, and weighed approximately 22 pounds. What was really remarkable about the find was that the sphere didn't have a single seam on it where it could have been welded together. At first, the couple thought that it could have possibly been a relic from history, due to the area once being the location of a Spanish mission in the 16th century. Another theory was that it had fallen from space and belonged to either NASA or the Russians. However, there wasn't any sign of impact that you would normally find with anything that had fallen a great distance. Not sure what it was, they decided to take it home just for the sake of it being an oddity. Not long after this, the Betz' son, Terry, was playing his guitar while at home, and suddenly the sphere seemed to react to the music. It began emitting a deep throbbing sound, which agitated the family's dog, as well as it seemed to move autonomously if certain chords were played. Things only seemed to ramp up in activity from there, as on a few occasions the sphere would begin rolling around the house on its own, making sharp 90-degree turns until it finally came back to the spot it started at. Sometimes it was reported that it would roll continuously for over 12 minutes at a time. The family stated that it frequently made a rattling noise that almost was like a machine was running inside of the orb. To go a step weirder, the family claimed that the ball would move along their table perimeter, but would never fall off the edge, as well as it being able to roll up the table leg to get to the surface. Antoine went as far as stating that the ball seemed to react to solar power, since it was most active when it was sunny out. The Betz family frequently kept the ball in a crate for fear that it would leave their property and search for who owned it. Antoine and Jerry Betz showed off the orb to many family and friends who were mystified by the ball, and eventually it became public knowledge that they had it. Reporters from all over made their way to their family's home to talk to them about what they had found, which also led to NASA and the US Navy taking interest in the object as well. At first, the family was reluctant to comply with the military's request to study the sphere. This all changed when the orb started causing doors to slam on their own and making loud organ-sounding music emanate through the house. Not being able to sleep, they finally relented in giving the ball out for research. The sphere was taken to the Jacksonville Naval Air Station, where a multitude of tests were performed on it. It was determined that it was made of a magnetized stainless steel and could withstand pressures of 120,000 psi. The sphere was hollow, with its outer walls being half an inch thick, but oddly enough, X-rays were unable to penetrate it. When a more powerful X-ray machine was used, it was observed that inside the ball was two more spherical objects that were surrounded in a halo of material that could not be identified. Dr. James Albert Harder from the University of California at Berkeley asserted that the materials used to make the orb were made of elements whose atomic number was greater than 140. He further stated that due to this, if the ball was ever to be drilled into, it would cause it to become unstable and explode. On further study, it was discovered that the ball had 3 to 4 magnetic poles that would fluctuate in intensity for no apparent reason. Here's where the story gets real interesting. According to reports, the military finished their tests and gave the sphere back to the Betz family. Later, a report would come out that after their studies, they concluded it was simply a steel ball and nothing more. What truly is odd is that since this time, the ball and the Betz family has mysteriously vanished. So after all that, what could the sphere have possibly been, and where is it now? One theory claims it was a ball bearing used in large paper mills, and that the ball's strange movement was due to the Betz house being old and not level. Disregarding the two orbs inside, it is claimed that the rattling noise is from birds that fell inside while the sphere was made. An artist by the name of James Durling Jones stated that the orb was part of an art exhibit he was working on. In his claim, he stated he received orbs of multiple sizes illegally from a friend who worked at a large industrial complex. James strapped the orbs on the top of his VW van, and while on his way back to his house, he hit a bump and lost one of the orbs. While some say his story is an obvious answer to the mystery, a lot question its authenticity since no names or details are mentioned, nor were any of the other orbs recovered. James refused to give details for fear his friend would get in trouble, but he apparently had no issues admitting that he had stolen the property. As always, every story has two sides, and some believe that the sphere was an alien device such as a probe, while others go to an extreme and claim it could have possibly been an extraterrestrial nuclear doomsday device. Personally, I question some of the reports, but I still come back to the verifiable things during the tests that convey that something was odd with the sphere. My first thought is, why was the military so interested in this strange ball, especially if it could be so easily recognized as a ball bearing? Claims say that the reason for the interest was the military wanted to make sure it wasn't theirs, and that they may have not been familiar with large ball bearings since they frequently used a smaller variety. I question this since it infers that all of the military's scientists and engineers couldn't identify it as a ball bearing just because it was larger in size. The tests that stated there were two more orbs inside, as well as having 3 to 4 magnetic poles, are largely glanced over when articles are written describing the events in a skeptical fashion. As for the family, it can only lead to a couple possible outcomes when thought about critically. Either the government did not give the orb back and the family was silenced, which has been done in the past, or the Betz family were given it back and left the area for fear of ridicule. At this point, no one is sure, and I would assume that given how long ago this took place, we may never know what happened. As stated previously, I am unsure what to think about this event, and I'll leave it up to you to decide, but it certainly is up there for being odd and mysterious. When I started this video, I originally planned on it including both topics, but it soon became apparent that there was a lot more information about the Betz sphere than I originally assumed. So in the interest of keeping this shorter, I decided to split it up into two parts, with the second one being focused on the Black Knight. No, not the 2001 Martin Lawrence movie, but the satellite that is allegedly thought to be of alien design. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to my channel as I cover a variety of odd topics like this, and if you would be so kind to give this video a thumbs up, it would greatly be appreciated. With that, be safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.